Hi everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you my April marked as to read video. So in the month of April, I marked a total of 20 books exactly as to read on Goodreads. So let's jump straight in and talk about all of the 20 books and where I heard about them, what the books are, and all of that jazz. Let's jump in. So the first 3 books that I marked as to read are all books that I heard about on a Goodreads blog post. The Goodreads blog post was all about twisty teen mysteries, basically. So the first one that I marked as to read based on that particular blog post was Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. So obviously these are all YA mysteries. This one is set at a boarding school, one of my buzzwords, and it basically, I think the founder of the school's wife and daughter went missing, and it's like this big mystery that's never been solved. And then in present day, this girl goes to the boarding school and she wants to basically solve the mystery. I think it's one of those things where every few years someone tries to solve the mystery, no one's ever been able to do it, but this girl wants to be the one to solve it. I then marked People Like Us by Dana Melee. This one is about a main character who's got like secrets in her past and a girl from her school. So again, it's something to do with a school. I'm not sure if it's a boarding school or just a general high school, but a girl from her school dies but leaves I think it's a digital scavenger hunt that leads, like, it's supposed to lead to her killer. So that just sounded really interesting. I'm into scavenger hunts, I'm into schools, all that type of thing. The third one that I got from that blog post is Jacoby by William Ritter. Now, this is a book that I've actually heard a bit about and I've always been vaguely interested in. This one is a historical fiction that's basically about a girl who becomes the assistant to a investigator and helps, like, basically solve crimes. I think that maybe the crimes are paranormal in nature, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But a girl becoming assistant to a detective just sounds really interesting and like something that I would enjoy in a twisty teen YA mystery. The next book I have to talk about I marked as to read based purely off the authors, and that is What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. I have only read one book each from these authors. I've read Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, which is one of my favorite books ever. And I have read They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera, which I also really enjoyed. So I was very interested in picking this book up, and all I know about it is that it's a YA contemporary with what I believe is going to be a gay romance. That's literally all I know, but I was very interested in it based just off who the authors were. Next, I have 2 books that Heather from Bookables talked about in a book haul. First, we have Little Do We Know by Tamara Island Stone. This one is a YA contemporary, and it's about 2 girls who used to be like the best of friends, and they live next door to each other. And then one day there's some kind of tragic accident or something like that that brings them kind of back together. That's all I really know about it. I was very intrigued by this because if you know me, then you know that friendship themes in books is one of my favorite things to read about. So I was very interested in a story about 2 girls who have had some kind of falling out and are kind of trying to find their way back to each other and being brought back together. Very interested in that. The second one from that particular book haul of Heather's is All These Beautiful Strangers by Elizabeth, oh, I have no idea how to pronounce this, Clayforth? That is definitely not correct. This one is a YA mystery about a girl whose mother went missing when I think she was like about 7, like when she was young, and she goes to a school, again, not sure if it's a boarding school or just a high school, but there is a secret society. So I'm very into secret societies, and I think it might be a boarding school, so I'm very into that as well. And again, it's something to do with her participating in some kind of scavenger hunt, and I presume something's going to come up about her mum having gone missing when she was a child, and maybe a mystery involved with that, but there's also a scavenger hunt. It all just sounded very interesting. Next, I have another book that I heard about on a Goodreads blog post. This one was one of the posts that they do pretty regularly about books hitting shelves in the next 7 days. This one is After Anna by Lisa Scottoline. This one is an adult thriller. It's basically about a man who has I'm not sure how old his son is, but he has a son and he remarries this woman. And then I think they're all very happy together. And then this woman's teenage daughter, I think she's like 17, Anna, comes to live with them, and there's a lot of friction in the household once Anna comes to live, like a lot of issues, particularly between this man and Anna. And then Anna is murdered, and I think this man is basically accused of her murder. Just sounded like a very interesting thriller, and I do love thrillers, so this was definitely one I was interested in picking up. Next, we have a book. So Lisa from over at Books and Smiles read another book by this author, and then for some reason, instead of marking that book as to read, I went and had a look at this author's page and marked as to read their earliest release. I'm not sure why I chose to do that. I am always interested in, I'm not sure if I just thought that all of the books sounded really interesting and so I would prefer to read them in publication order. I don't know what my thought process was there. But the book that I did mark as to read is Lying About Last Summer by Sue Warman. This is a YA mystery about a girl whose sister has recently died, and so she goes to a camp for troubled teens, and basically I think she starts to receive text messages from someone pretending to be her dead sister, and it's just kind of all about that mystery. Next, we have 3 other books that I heard about on Lisa's channel. The first of those is A False Report, A True Story of Rape in America by T. Christian Miller. This is a non-fiction story, and it's basically all about the case of where a girl was accused of falsely reporting a rape. I don't know whether this was a case where it turned out that she was falsely reporting or whether she was just being accused of that, like that was something that was being used against her, but this rape actually did happen. I'm not sure, but if you know me at all, you've been watching my channel, you know I'm very interested in rape culture and things of that nature, so this book is right up my alley, something that I'm very interested in reading, because false reporting of rape is obviously something that is disgusting. It's a truly terrible thing to do because you're attempting to completely destroy someone's life. But not only that, it completely undermines every girl who ever reports a sexual assault or a rape and is then accused of lying because of these one or a very small percentage of people who do falsely report. So I'm very interested in reading this book and seeing kind of what it has to say on that topic. The next book that I heard about from Lisa was The Neighbours by Hannah Mary McKinnon. This one is an adult thriller, and this one has got like a very convoluted kind of sounding plot. It's about a woman who was in a car accident in which her brother was killed, and through, I think, feelings of guilt all about that, she ends up breaking up with basically the guy that she considered to be the love of her life, and she ends up marrying the man who saved her from the car accident, but who couldn't save her brother. And I think it's years and years later, and her true love or whatever ends up moving in across the street or next door or something from them, and it's all about the 3 of them and their lives, and all, I presume everything that's going to come up now that they're all in close proximity to each other, and everything that's brought up kind of around the accident just sounded very, very interesting. And the last one that I heard about in that video of Lisa's was Duplicity by Sybil Hodge. This is another adult thriller, and it's basically, all I really know about it is that it's about a set of newlyweds. I think they're very recently married, and the man is murdered, and I think it says the woman escapes, so I'm not sure if it's known that the woman was also tried to be victimized and she just managed to get away, or whether some people think that she murdered him. I'm not really sure exactly, but it's just basically a whodunit thriller about a man who's been murdered, and I'm very into that type of thing. Next, we have a book that's been getting quite a bit of buzz on BookTube, which is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. This one I originally heard about and wasn't sure if I was too interested, but everyone has been really raving about it. Heather from over at Bookables, Reagan from over at Peruse Project in particular were the 2 who were really raving about it that made me end up marking it as to read. And then since then, Emma from over at Emma Books has also really been raving about this book. So this is a young adult, I don't know if you would say dystopian or utopian almost. It's set in a futuristic world where all the dangers to kind of mankind have been eradicated. There's no war, no famine, all of those types of things. So basically the only way you can die is by being killed by a scythe, and the scythes, I think, regularly kind of cull the population and kill people. That's all I really know about it. But like I said, it's getting really, really good reviews, and so it has a kind of intriguing plot, and because it's getting such great reviews, I just decided that maybe it was something that I would check out. The next book I marked as to read is one that when I was I heard about the book and then I went to look something up about it on Goodreads and just realized that I'd never marked it as to read, even though it's a book that I've always been interested in. And that is The Storied Life of A.J. Vickery by Gabrielle Zevin. This is an adult literary fiction, I believe, that's about a man who owns a bookstore, and all I know is that one day, I think a little girl, I'm not sure if it's like a baby or a toddler, is left in his shop with a note like just saying like, please take care of this child. I don't know kind of what happens from there, if it's just about the mystery of discovering where this girl came from, but this book gets pretty good reviews. It's set kind of in a bookstore, which obviously intrigues me, and it's just something I've always been interested in reading, so I finally marked that one as to read. Next we have another book that I heard about from over on Lisa's channel. This is one that Lisa really, really loved, and it's called Before I Let You Go by Kelly Rimmer. This one is I'm not sure if it's a thriller or just kind of a literary contemporary type novel about two sisters. One has had a very troubled life, and she's a drug addict and a thief and all of these types of things, and she turns up one day, basically is pregnant and is like going into labor, and I think she ends up giving the baby to her sister, and her sister is trying to look after this newborn niece of hers, and her whole life's kind of falling apart because of it, while the drug addicted sister is in rehab. I'm not kind of sure where it goes from there, if it's just about them kind of trying to overcome. Let me see if I made any other notes about it. Yeah, I think that's just all about, it's all about them kind of trying to deal with those issues, and I think maybe the sister who's in rehab is trying to confront all of these past issues and all of these long buried secrets. I'm not really sure, but like I said, anything that Lisa really, really loves is something that I am intrigued to pick up. Next, we have a book that I actually heard about during the Deadly Divas book club's like live show. I didn't get to see the live show live because of the time zone. Like I just wasn't able to watch it when it was on, but I did watch it later, and they were talking a lot about thrillers and different thriller recommendations, and one of the ones that was spoken about that I was really interested in was called Unsub by Meg Gardner, and it's basically about a detective who is trying to track down a serial killer, and it's like a Zodiac inspired serial killer, so I just thought that sounded really, really interesting. Okay, Siri. Sorry, Siri's trying to hone away in on this video. I then have another book that I heard about. This one I heard about over from Katie at Chapter Stack. She did a review of this book, and it's called The Winter People by Jennifer McMahon. Now, this is one of those books that I've kind of seen around, and when Katie reviewed it, I realized that I'd never actually knew anything about it. So this is actually an adult horror thriller that I think years and years in the past, there was this woman who lived in this house, and I think she was found dead in a field, but only like a week or so after her daughter had tragically died. And then I think years and years later, this woman ends up moving into this house where this woman had previously lived, and she discovers the diary of this past woman, and it's all about, I think, the mystery of what happened to this woman and yada, yada, yada. I say it's a horror thriller, so very intrigued about it. Katie reads a lot of thrillers and horror books, so she really enjoyed it, so for her to give a good review of it, that very much intrigued me, and it's definitely something that I want to pick up in future. Next, we have a book that I first heard about over on a channel that I'm very newly subscribed to, and that is a channel of a girl named Kat over at Catadactyl. And that was the first channel where I heard this book talked about, and it's The Surface Breaks by Louise O'Neill. I am very interested in anything by Louise O'Neill. I own 2 of her books. I haven't read anything by her. I do own 2. Louise O'Neill just basically writes very feminist books, and I'm very about that. And this one is a little bit different because I think most of her other books are kind of contemporary or like alternate reality, but like I don't even know how to describe them. They're more contemporary type fiction, whereas this one is a fantasy, like fairy tale it's a retelling of The Little Mermaid, but it's a very feminist retelling of The Little Mermaid. I'm totally here for that. Like I say, haven't actually read anything by Louise O'Neill, but I'm very interested in this book as well. Next, we have a book that I've heard about a lot on BookTube. Everyone raves about it, but I've never been super interested in it, and it's the book is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. And I don't know what it is about it, but I was just never, something about it, I was just like, nah, I'm not interested, even though everyone basically gives it 5 stars. And then I saw Sam from over at Thoughts on Tomes read it, and she compared it to Uprooted by Naomi Novik. And I really love Uprooted by Naomi Novik. That's a book that I personally really, really enjoyed. So I thought, well, if it's pretty comparable to that book, and the plot of it, I don't actually ever seem to retain what the plot is. It's got some kind of fairy tale type elements to it. I believe it's like a Russian inspired folk fairy tale type thing. That's literally all I know about it that I can ever like retain. But for some reason, I've just never been interested. But when it's being compared to Uprooted by Naomi Novik and people are saying that it's so beautifully written, I think that maybe it's something that I would enjoy, so I decided to just bite the bullet and mark it as to read. Next, we have a book that Lily C. Reads did a review of. I love Lily C. Reads' channel. She's an Australian booktuber. She's hilarious. But she did a review of a book called A Pleasure and a Calling by Phil Hogan. This is an adult thriller and it has a really creepy like premise. I just find this particularly creepy. It's basically about a like real estate agent who keeps the keys to the houses that he sells. And like, he's just really sinister, and I don't exactly know what he does with the keys, but the thought of someone having a key to your house, I just find so creepy. Like, this is why you change the locks when you move into a house. I say as a person who never changed the locks on this house when I bought it, but you know what I'm saying? I just find that extremely creepy, and maybe I feel like maybe now I should change my locks. But moving on. The final book that I marked as to read in the month of April is a book that I heard about again over at Lisa from Books and Smiles channel. She recommended this as an underhyped thriller, and that is The Child Next Door by Shalini Boland. I recently read, oh my god, what was that book called? I read another book by Shalini Boland very recently. Something to do with a child or mother. The Secret Mother? It was called The Secret Mother. I think it was called The Secret Mother. If it wasn't called The Secret Mother, I'll put it on the screen. But anyway, I recently read that book by Shalini Boland and I really enjoyed it. And then Lisa talked about this one. This is another adult thriller, and this one is basically about a woman who has a fairly like recent baby, like the baby's not too old, and she hears a voice over the baby monitor saying something like, let's just take the baby and go. And she freaks out, as you would, and goes upstairs or wherever into the baby's room, and the baby's there, the baby's completely fine, there's no one there. And then she starts to be like, what the heck is going on? And she thinks that maybe it was from another house, like there was some kind of cross wiring issue with the baby monitor, and she's heard people talking about another baby, but she doesn't have any other babies like in her area, and the police think that she's crazy and her husband thinks that she's crazy. I don't know, it just sounded like a very intriguing premise. That is so creepy to hear a voice over a baby monitor saying that they want to like just take the baby. Oh, like that is so scary. But yeah, so just a very creepy thriller that sounds like it will be totally like a good time to read. So those are the 20 books that I marked as to read on Goodreads in the month of April. I would love to chat with you guys in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, if you have any thoughts on them, or any books that you've been getting really excited about over the past month, or however that you've been marking as to read on Goodreads. I would love to know. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That's all I have for this video today. Bye guys!